Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nirmal. I'm Hiral, Dadia. We have Keshav, Bhajanka, ED Century Ply joining in. Keshav, a very good afternoon and welcome to the show. Firstly, if you could just help us understand, everyone is right now just trying to figure out how to maneuver, how to deal with the impact of COVID because not a single sector, not a single community, not a single economy that has been saved out of this. What is the sense that you're picking up?
So, firstly, Hiral, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be on this platform. Um, I think, as you very aptly put it, everyone is impacted. So, COVID is something that took the world by storm, and the pandemic, it, in my opinion, is here to stay, at least in the short term. So, I think business has been impacted substantially, and the new normal as of now is social distancing. I think that is here to continue. I don't think that things such as travel, things such as leisure are going to be the same going forward, at least maybe for the next year or so.
Hmm.
I think that impact is definitely being felt. I think that impact is substantial, and I think that going forward we will look at changing the way that companies operate. So I think we are also working along that line, and it will definitely have an impact on brick and mortar companies also, in the sense that the manner in which we were conducting business earlier and the manner in which we will conduct business going forward, that is going to change. So I think that impact really requires a lot of adaptation. We need to integrate with technology far better than what we were doing earlier, and I think that is one of the objectives that we have had during the lockdown. We have been trying to upgrade our systems. We have been trying to roll out things that we were maybe afraid to roll out earlier.
Hmm. Hmm.
And going forward, I think that is really going to help business become leaner, maybe a couple of years down the line. But in the short term, there's a lot of pain. So as they say, short term pain, but long term gain.
Long-term gain, yeah. Absolutely. And every time if you talk about India as a country as well, the biggest of the reforms have actually been implemented in India at the time of crisis. So probably I think not only at the macro level, even at micro level in terms of individual companies, reforms, changes, that's something which is going to become a constant right now, and that's what we need to start adapting to. So, Kesha, if you could just help me understand now, since the lockdown from the 25th of March to now, I'm sure businesses were shut down. I mean, production was not happening. You had retail, which was completely shut. Real estate was completely locked down. What is the kind of impact you've seen in terms of business over this period?
So firstly, I am from Calcutta. Our head office is in Bengal, so we had a four-day head start over you.
Mhm.
For us, business shut on the 21st.
Correct.
Uh, but you see, like you said, um, in this interim period, sale, of course, till very recently, till I think the beginning of May, has been zero. So that impact was definitely there. During this entire time period, there are costs that every company faces. So we are no different. So there has been outflow and there has been zero inflow, which has been a burden on the balance sheet and the profit and loss. But I would say, thankfully, we are or we are a really financially sound company, close to zero leverage. So I think that has played into our hands, and that has helped us overcome this storm maybe better than some others would have. In the interim, what we have actually been able to do is focus a lot on the back end. So whereas we have not been able to do anything on the ground, on the sales front,
Hmm.
but we have been developing a lot of systems, a lot of infrastructure for when the lockdown opens. And I think this puts us in a prime position to take advantage of things once the lockdown starts. I remember having a conversation with you earlier where I told you about a video conferencing app called Life Size, that we have rolled out for the entire company.
Correct.
I could have never imagined a scenario where I was sitting in front of my laptop for 4 to 5 hours a day, and it felt like business was normal.
Hmm.
I'll tell you, our office started Monday. I have been to office for 3 of the past 4 days,
Hmm.
and I would say my productivity at home has pretty much been the same. So this is a new normal. This is something that we never realized could happen. But going forward, I think a lot of things such as travel costs, are going to see a drastic reduction. A lot of things such as technological integration. So let me give you an example. Earlier, we used to operate all our sales team through Excel files. Okay, we used to have a PJP, which is a plan journey plan. We used to have sales targets. We used to have a number of retailers listed.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have all of these factors. Everything was done manually.
Mm.
As you can imagine, with a sales team of close to 700 people, this became a very tedious exercise to review.
Correct, correct.
In the interim, we had been developing a SFA, a Salesforce automation app, or a Salesforce automation system for the past year and a half. We had rolled it out to only 3 branches because we wanted to see the reaction. We wanted to see how there was a resistance from the team and so on and so forth. In the last 2 weeks, I have rolled it out pan India. So from three, it went to 23 branches.
Correct.
That is the sort of disruption
Mm.
that has been caused, and we are looking to ride this wave. We are looking to implement long-term changes
Mm.
that earlier were very difficult. That earlier drew a lot of internal resentment, a lot of internal pushback. But now it is far easier and simpler to roll them out. So I think there is sort of a silver line.
I mean, the acceptance becomes higher as well because people don't really want to risk their lives as well to go physically visit the stores, take the orders, come back, put it on an Excel sheet, send it out. I mean, you don't want that procedure to happen. So, again, yeah, I mean, it is a blessing in disguise then.
There's a slight difference, I'd say. You see, this is going to help us when physical
Correct.
visits resume. Um, Today, if you look at it, social distancing is the norm,
Mm.
etc., etc. But India still is very much a relationship-based economy. India still is a market where the retailer would want to see the executive just for that personal touch. So going forward, the number of visits that we are doing earlier, suppose we are doing 5 or 6 visits with a person, I think we'd be looking at 9 to 10 visits once the market's open. So that
Mm.
is the sort, and I'm talking about open as in when they normalize again. So that is the sort of change that we have maybe driven in. And this was something that was unthinkable till very recently. So I think it is both during the short term and the long term,
Mm.
this benefit is going to be felt.
Correct. So, overall, right now, Keshav, if you have to look at business, everyone across sectors, what corporates are saying is that in terms of FY21, our motive, our aim is to actually only break even. We're not even looking at making a profit, but the effort is going to be that at least we break even this year because we've lost a lot in these couple of days and the slowdown is going to continue. So for Century Ply, what is the kind of growth that you're targeting now?
So anything that I tell you right now would be based on assumptions.
Absolutely.
You see, what we have done, the chairman has a statement. He says, hope for the best, but always be prepared for the worst. So in this interim, we have looked at our revenues at 50% levels,
Hmm.
better previous year. If we end up at 50%, we are still at a cash profit. We are still going to be in a decent shape. Our balance sheet will still look stronger than what it did last year. But that is the worst case scenario. In my opinion, a lot is going to depend on the next 2 months. So I think we are sitting on the 15th of March right now,
Hmm.
15th of May, sorry. Now, as of the 15th of May, I have done close to 9%
Hmm.
of my company sales in
Hmm.
the month of May.
Hmm.
This was unfathomable till last month end. I thought my sales, if I reached 10% for the entire month, I would be in a decent position.
Hmm.
So it depends on the resilience within the economy. Obviously, the government is rolling out a lot of things. Some very beneficial, some less so, but they're working on it. And I think the stimulus, if it can change sentiment even to a limited extent, because business is driven by sentiment, particularly our business is driven a lot by sentiment.
Hmm.
When a dealer feels like, because we have a credit trade, right? There's credit given all the way through. We give credit
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
our distributors give credit to their retailers, our retailers give credit to their contractors, and so on and so forth. Now, when you look at this credit, the chain, for the cycle to run, there has to be confidence. If there is no confidence, if you fear that your payment is not going to come back, you are not going to extend more credit, you're
Hmm.
not going to generate more sale, and there's going to be a vicious cycle. If the government can ensure that the sentiment, which was already a little down prior to this, the economy wasn't doing great maybe
Absolutely.
for the past year and a half. uh, After Modi ji came back, we all expected to see a drastic improvement. I don't think that drastic improvement has taken place.
Hmm.
We're more or less, at a okay level. From there, the sentiment has gone negative.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
we can even get back to that okay level, then I think this 50% we should achieve with ease. And I still see us doing a profit this year. But again, it is an assumption.
Hmm.
I think that the next couple of months will be able to show us the way forward.
Right. So what verticals are you betting on if you have to look at laminates, plyboards, and MDF? Because this was something which was expected to actually give you growth even in FY21. Will the sectors contributing to the growth remain remain the same?
Okay, let me put it like this. Plywood is still our largest sector. It
Hmm.
accounts for 45% of our turnover. In plywood, I definitely see some pressure. I don't know to what extent, but maybe we'll end the year at 60% out of turnover last year. Laminates being a decorative product, it can follow the trend of plywood. MDF and particle board, I am very, very bullish on. The reason being that, in this market, OEMs are operational. OEMs are not labor intensive. They give you ready made furniture. Now, if you look at the next couple of months, migrant labor has moved back.
Right.
If that migrant labor, and imagine somebody who has traveled maybe 400-500 kilometers, I don't know, maybe even 1,000+ kilometers to get back to a village. Do you think the day that the government says that no, no, now everything is hunky dory, you're allowed to travel, they are not going to be in a hurry to go back? So for anybody who is looking at completion of a house, at shifting, or at even in home improvement, suppose somebody during the lockdown had a broken study table, had a broken bed, had a broken somebody else, they're going to be something else. They're going to be in a hurry to repair it. The only option available is going to be ready-made furniture.
Hmm.
And once a trend picks up, it is very difficult to halt that trend.
Right.
So I think particle board and MDF are going to do well. In exports, we have a limited sales because of the war in Ukraine. We were exporting in April, and in May I feel that we are going to continue with our exports. Maybe we are going to be at a slight disadvantage. Maybe turnover will fall by maybe 15-20%, but we should be at around 80% of our turnover from last year. We have a CFS vertical, which is a container freight station, where we have two-thirds of the capacity at Calcutta Port. Now, as you know, port is an essential service. We have been working right through. My CFS team has been in operation since the 21st of March till today. There's not been a
Hmm.
single day. So in that vertical as well, I look at maybe a 70-75% turnover. So overall, since we are a well-diversified company within our trade, I think we would be perhaps in a better position than most.
Right. And what's the status of the production? And I mean, what is going to be, how are you going to maintain the norms as well going ahead? Because you have to look at social distancing, you have to look at hygiene. In terms of the number of shifts, do you think that will go up because the number of people could go down? Or, how are you planning production now from here on?
Okay. So you see, with regards to our industry, uh, it is not possible to run a plant at 30% or 40% capacity, or 30 or 40% the number of people, because it is a labor intensive enterprise. So what we need to do is, even if we are at 25%, for that 25%, the entire team needs to be there for production to continue.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is we are trying staggered interventions at different places of production.
Hmm.
Maybe one part will operate. When one part operates, the dispatch does not operate. When the dispatch is operating, then maybe our raw material procurement division or raw material incoming division, that will not operate. So as such, we are trying our best. We have created SOPs throughout the company. For every factory there is a detailed SOP. I
Hmm.
think the it was some 48 pages. It was difficult for me to go through the entire thing as well. But we have implemented rigorously. I must give it to my factory team because they have been at it
Hmm.
since the 1st of April. From 1st of April, I know it's April Fool's Day, but since then, till about 15th of April, that is all we did. Trying to get a structure in place so that the factories could become operational again. And now we have, in accordance with state guidelines, wherever we have been given permission to resume 75%, we've resumed 75%. Where we've been given 25%, we've resumed 25%. What we are now looking forward to is the demand, the way that it opens up will actually shape things much better for us, because we need to get an understanding of how much we can produce to sell. The objective
Correct.
is to sell. So if sales picks up, I think production with social distancing guidelines
Mm.
is going to take maybe a 20-25% efficiency hit. If we are producing
Mm.
100
Mm.
units earlier out of an 8-hour shift, maybe right now we'll only be able to produce 70-75
Okay.
units. So that is the sort of hit that social distancing could cause, but it is a given right now. We have always been a company which has valued our employees over anything else. So I think even during the lockdown, we are one of the few companies which has actually created a help desk for our employees. Whereas if they have any problem, I'm not just talking about salaried employees, I'm talking about every single employee in the company with regards to labor, with regards to employees, with regards to staff, with regards to housekeeping. Every person, if there's any issue, our company has been trying to reach out and solve it to the best of our abilities. Of course, in some cases where people wanted to go back to their homes, even we couldn't help, because
Mm. Correct.
that is our priority. And I think there will be a 20-25% hit on production. We have started operating in certain places where we have seen this hit already,
Mm.
but I think that is the sacrifice we need to make.
Right. So, with all of this, do you think the demand that would be coming out of the housing sector, that's something which would be, really disappointing as well? Because yes, the government is trying to give that levy to, real estate as well in terms of, say, RERA norms. Okay, been given a 6-month extension. But do you think that sector, which could take the biggest hit on the back of consumption demand, that could have a major impact?
Mm, okay. Firstly, when you speak about real estate, we are a little different from cement or steel or
Correct,
some of these other industries, because my demand starts once a person moves into the house,
correct.
not so much as to when the building is being constructed. It is the phase from when a house becomes a home. So that's where our products start to figure in.
Mm,
Um, if you look at India, we have 5 years of unsold inventory in real estate
mm.
all across. This is a data that most people knew. I
Correct.
don't react to it, but if there's 5 years of unsold inventory, when demand comes, there is ready-made inventory available, right?
Mm,
What this has done, and I have a lot of friends who are promoters, who are builders. Um, they've told me that if somebody is coming to us with a cash upfront offer, we are willing to sell at 20% discount because
correct.
we keep our cash flows. Now, people who were intending, who had the liquidity, for them, this is the best opportunity that they have gotten in the past,
Correct.
I don't know, decade. Because while people have been saying housing is under pressure, in my opinion, prices have not broken.
Correct. Absolutely. Prices have not gone down, they've always moved up.
But now represents an opportunity for them to buy. With regards to people who don't have the liquidity or who don't have the cash flows with them in order to do that right now, I think what this time period has done, see, all of us are spending a lot more time at home, right? If you look at yourself, I'm sure that the amount of time you spent at home, you wouldn't have done maybe in the past few
Absolutely.
years.
Yeah.
So it has taught us the importance of home.
Mm,
So going forward, anybody who gets into a financial position, of course, there'll be cash flow constraints, there'll be a lot of uncertainty, but this uncertainty cannot go on for the rest of our lifetimes.
correct.
Goes a year and a half, 2 years down the line, when people have the disposable income, when people want to upgrade
Mm,
to a better house, to a better location, if they had a 20% inclination earlier, they would have 45% inclination today.
mm, mm.
People have realized, if you have young children, my daughter is 3 years old, and in my house, I need to hide and find a space to do VCs so that she's in there. And even then, sometimes I'm not successful. So a lot of people have realized that they need maybe a home office. A lot of people have realized that they maybe need a more spacious house. When they are restricted to the house the entire time, then imagine an urban couple who's working
Mm,
in a Bangalore or in a Mumbai. They have a 1 BHK and everything's well and good. They used to go out and eat
mm,
dinner maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
mm.
They used to,
Yeah.
spend a lot of time at work. Now suddenly that one BHK, a small I don't know, 1,000 square feet, maybe like a
Maybe 500 square feet now in Bombay.
maybe 500 square feet in Mumbai, but it could be like a noose. You could feel suffocated. So once your financial position improves, I am sure those people would want to move out and into a slightly better, more luxurious sort of a living area. Imagine those people who were staying in the slums all this time. Dharavi was all fine. They didn't have to pay taxes, blah blah blah. But now, if you look at what has happened, I'm sure that if some people have the financial ability and earlier they had no inclination, now they would have an inclination for the safety of
Inclination.
their families. So, long term, I think that could be a silver lining.
Hmm.
In the
Hmm.
short term, real estate prices seem to have taken a hit. The hit seems to be there to stay. That bodes well for our industry. That bodes quite well because
Hmm.
once people start buying and start making the houses, my products start getting used.
Correct.
So I cannot, I'm not an economist, but I feel that long term the impact will be quite positive. In the short term, real estate will have a lot of pain, and let's see how that plays out.
Right. And overall, very lastly, Keshav, with regards to expansion plans, is that something which would be put on hold for the moment, or are you continuing with your expansion plans?
So you see, in I am perhaps the most aggressive person in my company when it comes to expansions. So in the recent past, like we have discussed earlier, also there are a lot of expansions that
Hmm.
at one time were looking a bit risky. Now they have proven to be successes. But we had our largest expansion till date that we had planned in Uttar Pradesh. And maybe 2 weeks into the lockdown, I went to the chairman and I told him that, Dad, I was really pushing for this expansion. And I know that maybe this is not a good time. I'm okay with deferring it by a year, etc., etc. And my dad has always been a more pragmatic person because his
Hmm.
policy is very simple. His policy is that turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is reality. So focus on a project that gives you positive cash flows. So when I told him this, the reaction was well, I was shocked. He said that because the second that things start to normalize, we are going to fast track that expansion.
Hmm.
I was just trying to understand why. And his
Hmm.
point was that with the country's potential, given the amount of potential that we have, right now, anybody else, for them to expand could be difficult. But for us, our cost of interest is less than 5%, weighted average cost of interest. For us, our cash flow, our 1 year's EBITDA is greater than our total debt on book.
Hmm.
So this represents the perfect opportunity because it will give us maybe a 2 or 3 year head start over competition. So all our expansion plans are going to continue, and I think we will be trying to expedite the same.
I mean, that's a good thing as well because clearly, with regards to Uttar Pradesh, if I'm not mistaken, it's a particle board and a MDF unit, right? And any which ways you have particle board, which is giving good returns, especially in the southern part of India, if I was reading it right earlier. So yeah, probably this could be the best way because right, even when the FM was talking yesterday with regards to migrant laborers, they were clearly indicating that yes, even the empty buildings probably would be given out to this community and stuff like that. So if this is going to be the scenario, people are going to come in for sure. MDF furniture, etc., is something which is going to pick up because no one is going to really wait it out to get furniture made, etc. So absolutely, I mean, a good point that you've made. But anything, Keshav, lastly, that you think that the government could announce or the industry has asked the government for in terms of relief?
Um, you see, relief is a very difficult term to quantify. Relief is different from person to person. But I was again discussing this with my entire board, with the chairman, the managing director, other people, and one thing that we realized is that none of this is stimulus. You see, you're giving out a loan. A loan is a loan. You need to repay the amount, you need to repay, and you need to pay the interest. It's a 1 year moratorium. The interest meter does not stop.
Mm.
So, um, if you remember when the last financial crisis hit, then the prime minister then, the greatest finance minister in my opinion this country has had, Manmohan Singh, um, he made a bold decision. He reduced excise duty by 4% right across the board. The minimum for excise duty was 4%. But above that, if you were at 12, you went to 8. If you were at 8, you went to
Correct.
4, so on. I think if you want to boost consumption, then maybe for a year or so, you need to do something similar. You need to give people a reason to go out and spend money right now. Because, like I told you, the sentiment is not great.
Hmm.
So, if the government can change the sentiment, then I think we will bounce back better than most. Maybe the US is a different ball game because, of course, they can dole out unlimited amounts of money. But besides them, I think we could be the company that benefits the most, the country that benefits the most.
Hmm.
My opinion, the government needs to do something to boost consumption. I don't think that is taking place. I mean, yes, for housing, they have increased the 4% interest subvention. So that is a good thing for low income and for low income housing. But they need to do something on the GST front.
Correct. So basically, I mean, taxation is something that needs to be looked at, and interest rates is something that need to be looked at because currently, if from what I pick up from you is that it's more of a financing model that the government is given out versus a relief model.
Again, you see, I am not actually saying that. What I'm saying is with regards to the government, um, the stimulus, the word is stimulus, right?
Correct. Correct.
What the stimulus supposed to do? It is supposed to increase something by incentivizing it, right?
Hmm.
If you want an economic stimulus, it is something that is going to help the economy get back on its feet.
Hmm.
Today, there is nothing that is going to make you go out and buy anything other than what you need. Think
Hmm.
about it. If you have no essential requirement today, you're not going to travel. I don't think buying a new vehicle is on somebody's priority. So, what is the reason that a person would go out and spend money other than their basic necessities? So, if you have a GST reduction,
Hmm.
then and you level it for a period of say a year, you say for 1 year, I'm reducing the GST by so and so extent. You know, by buying something today, you are getting it cheaper than what you will get it next year. For the simple reason that you will save out on that GST burden. Now, imagine somebody who's buying a house. It
Hmm.
makes a lot of difference. Imagine somebody who's buying a car. If you're buying something worth 5 lakh and there's 5% rebate, that's 25,000 straight.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think the government needs to do something to boost consumption. Stimulus should boost consumption. Nothing that they have done right now boost consumption, in my opinion.
Correct, correct. So consumption needs to be boosted. Absolutely. Keshav, it was a great conversation that we had. Thank you for joining in as well. I think once things pick up, I think in the next couple of weeks, we will come back to you as well to understand as to how the demand has picked up, what are the changes, and if there is any stimulus that has come in as well to boost consumption. But thank you very much. I think stay home, stay safe
Thank
as of now, and
you.
see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.